Going live. All right, we're live. How's it going, everybody? Got 2 people on this live stream. Hope it's some 8th graders because you guys have a meeting today with me. Discuss end of the year stuff in an hour. If you want more information, I'll put it on Classroom within like the last 10 minutes. I forgot to. Apparently, there's a limit on how early you can, or how early can you, or how late can you like submit. So this is the meeting information. It's like a 24 hours. Like, why can't it just be 12 hours or like 2 hours? Whatever. I'll put the info up, and if for some reason we go over time, I'll place another link for a second meeting or something. I know we're live. Remember, it's delayed, the reaction. But yeah, we'll have that info will be available then. No, I do not have Discord. We're doing a private meeting, and everyone's gone. I'm lagging. Okay. But yeah, I mean, 5th grade, you guys are doing geologic time scale. This is one of my favorite things because we would talk a lot about Earth's history. Yes, Earth is over 4.6 billion years old. It is old. 6th grade, we'll talk about that next year in 7th grade when we do Earth science. Planet Earth is super old. It is beyond comprehension. Like, if you were to do 365 days is the whole lifespan of the Earth. We're like the humans appeared within the last like 4 or 5 seconds, but majority of that has been like emptied because planet Earth took a long time to cool off, and then it eventually formed the oceans. There are many theories on how the oceans formed. You'll learn more about that in high school. But one of the easier like sources of where water came from, not all, but some came from comets slamming onto, at the time, warm Earth, and melted once they impacted and slowly built the ocean. You'll know that there are different periods, different eons. Like the biggest time skip, like time chunk, is an eon. We've only had 3 eons. What is called? Hang on, let me pull up my map. Again, I would have given you this map that has all the eons and periods on. You will have something available on the labs and textbook. 3 biggest eons are Archean, Proterozoic, and Paleozoic. Archean, basically, it's the eon where pretty much the Earth was cooling down. Oh, sorry, I forgot the Hadean eon. Hadean eon was one of the smallest eons. Basically, it's the point where Earth was still magma. It was still molten rock from the solar system forming. Proterozoic, that's when the Earth is cooled. It's mostly rock, some volcanoes here and there, mostly oceans. But then you have your Paleozoic era, which is basically the era where life existed. Majority of life is present, and that's what we live in. Then you have eras, which are the main big chunks of time. So, for example, you have the Proterozoic era, the era before life existed, like very microscopic life forms only exist. That took place from the beginning of Earth up to like, I think it's 540 million years ago. 540 million years ago, we had something called the Cambrian explosion, which is a time period where suddenly a lot of life just came out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, like, oh, within the day, suddenly, boop, they all popped in. No, it's within a big time frame. Like, this is around the time where life started like popping up, complex life, like squids, fishes, mostly sea animals and plants. That was the majority. And then in the Paleozoic era, you have 3, or the Paleozoic eon, you have 3 eras: Paleozoic, Mesozoic, Cenozoic. All of them are Latin terms. Zoic means age of, or in the age of. Paleo means old. Meso means middle. Ceno means current. So you could guess old life, middle life, current life. In paleo life, it was ruled by mostly plants and sea creatures. Pangea was starting to form at this point. Technically, Pangea is not the first time we've had a Pangea. There's a theory that most likely there's been like 3 or 4 other Pangeas. The continents have been splitting, but not like current size. They were smaller, but over time they've grown, and broken, come back. Heck, it's going to happen again. Eventually, all the continents, I think, like Pacific Ocean is shrinking, but after a point, it won't shrink anymore, and then it'll push back, and it cause all the continents to slam against each other again and form something called Pangea Ultimate. But it won't happen for another like believe it's like 250 million years from now. So we're really in the halfway cycle of breaking off. We'll come back all together, and who knows what politics will be like that back then if we survive. Because most life forms, they only have like either tens of millions or like rare hundreds of millions of years to survive. The 100 millions is obviously the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs lived longer than humans. Like we barely scratched one of their time epochs, which is called the shortest time or ages. It's barely been anything. Then with the Mesozoic, you have mostly lizards, reptiles, cold-blooded creatures. Planet Earth was steaming hot. It was like if you thought global warming, like global warming's not a thing. No, global warming was here all along, except that we can't survive it because it's too hot for us. For dinosaurs, they're huge bodies. They need to stay warm somehow, and the warm temperature allowed them to grow big and stay warm. It was swampy. Like all this area used to be swampy during the age of the dinosaurs. Technically, if you dig deep enough in any part of the United States, you will find swamp plants everywhere. Swamp plant fossils. And then the Cenozoic, the age of mammals. So after all the dinosaurs died, we had mammals taking over as the main source. Planet got cooler. Besides the comet, there was the introduction of ice ages. Pretty much killed any large animal that couldn't keep itself warm. And small animals like us, yeah, we're small. We're small compared to dinosaurs. Can survive and live without being feared of being eaten. Because usually there were some animals existing during the Mesozoic era, during the dinosaurs, but they were nocturnal and they were small. Because anything big will be instantly killed or eaten. And in the daytime, most dinosaurs were. We believe they were in the day. Some were nocturnal, but most mammals were nocturnal. They wouldn't go outside in the daylight. Sorry, humans did not exist with dinosaurs. The only rodents like rats and stuff existed. And we'll talk more about like evolution and stuff like that in high school because that's a thing you need to learn. Even though it's not, you could say religious, it's still something that like it's going on currently. Like viruses evolve quicker than we are, and it's something you need to know. With the Cenozoic, we started off with really weird animals. Like sloths used to be huge. But again, you need a lot of energy, a lot of food, a lot of warmth. Sorry, they didn't survive that long. They died. They went extinct. Animals definitely always go extinct. It's right now, currently, we're causing things to go way faster extinct than they should have. And that's because of our interference. There have been other animals that have interference. And also, one more thing. This is for your warm-up and for one of the Brain Pop quote videos. It asked, like, for example, what ends an era? All eras, like the Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and like why do we have them separate? You just say the age of the dinosaurs. Well, the reason we mention separate is because during each period where there's a break, there's been a major extinction. Like between the Paleozoic and Mesozoic, there's something called the Permian mass extinction, which I believe it's either 89 to 95% of all life on Earth died. Was it a comet? No. Let's just say it involved, and there's theories out there that still haven't yet proven, but they're mostly leaning that it's going to be the answer if more research comes out. Basically, the weather changed. The weather changed, the currents, the ocean, volcanoes started erupting again, like more frequently, and the increase of carbon dioxide and a bunch of other elements changed the weather, and a lot of the creatures that survived the Paleozoic, because it was warm still, got cooler, they didn't survive and died. Or there was too much carbon dioxide in there and they died. It was mostly sea creatures. Again, it's 90, but still, that's a lot of death. That's a lot of death. Like, if you take how much the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, which is, again, the breakage point between the Mesozoic and Cenozoic era, that killed around 65% of all life on Earth. So, well, a lot of dinosaurs died. It's nothing compared to Paleozoic. That's been the worst extinction. And even then, like the dinosaur extinction, well, it's major. And it also with the epochs and the periods, which won't talk about now. You'll talk about this in 7th grade. Each of them are separated by age of mass extinction. Like the last time we've had a big nation, like global extinction event was the beginning of the Holocene, which is roughly 1 million years ago. That was the last, roughly around the beginning of the final ice ages. Again, because ice, cold, a lot of animals can't survive the cold, so they die. And the survivors move on. we're expecting that, and now we technically are in an age of mass extinction again, but not at the threat of global extinction, since humans are now majority of all living. Not all, the bacteria technically beats us, but for like complex organisms, we're the biggest ones. We're not gonna die for a long time. If all humans died, yeah, maybe that might be. I always had a question for my teacher of, like, for example, I would say, what would happen? Like, what would the next period be called, or next age be called? Well, we don't know. That'll be up to the next generation of living things to decide what this era was called. But yeah, there is no other era until there's a mass extinction, and it's sad, but don't get any ideas. Don't get any ideas. But yeah, that's the geological time scale. You're going to talk about relative dating, an easy, and also the law of superposition. Relative dating basically is, how do we know how old this rock is? For example, without like using complex tools, unless you have like something like radioactive measurements or decay, then you can use complex tools to figure out the exact age of a rock. But for example, law of superposition states that rocks on the top are always younger than the ones at the bottom. So the farther you dig down, the more into the past you go. That's why you have to dig really, really deep in order to find dinosaurs, because you got to go way back into the past. I believe every 10 centimeters of rock is roughly 10,000 years in going to the past. So every 10 centimeters of rock you keep digging underground, you're going 10,000 years into the past until you, and eventually, I think it's like roughly 100,000 or 10,000 meters down, you'll finally get to the dinosaurs. Usually, the reason why when we find dinosaur bones near mountain areas is because that rock is elevated, so it's already pulled out from the ground. We don't have to dig deep. But yeah, that's the whole for fifth grade. You guys will have one more presentation, one more project, and then we're done. Maybe we'll do introduction to sixth grade work. The last week of school, we'll do sixth grade work. Because you guys are already in sixth grade, we'll start oceans, because that's the first thing you talk about is water and the ocean. But yeah, with seventh, let's move on to sixth grade. So with sixth grade, we've got to finish talking about what's it called? Acids and bases. So acids and bases, nothing much new that I could go over with. Just know that acids tend to be have a lower concentration of electrons, so they're more positive charge. They want to attract something else. Neutralization. This means an acid needs to turn into a base. Something that once it mixes, it turns into something called salt. The reason why salt is bad is, again, we're totally more basic. Some parts of our body are acidic, but more basic. So when we drink salt, our body's trying to neutralize itself, but we can't be neutral. We need a little bit of a base and acid everywhere. So that's why too much salt for your body is bad, especially for your bloodstream. If you add too much salt, your blood is technically a base, and if it shrivels up because of the acid and more into the acid, it's bad for your body. It is super bad. That's why don't eat too much salt. It's a little bit of salt, but not too much, because your body, and you do need salt. There are parts of your body that do need to lower the concentration. Because, for example, let's say you eat some food that's really acidic, salt helps relieve that. And there are different types of salt. There's not just table salt. Like, oh, it's table salt. I think one of your warm-up questions, is name different types of salts. Like, for example, the salt you eat is not the same salt you use to melt stuff. That's why. But there are different types of salts that do each its own individual thing. But yeah, just identify that. There's different types of salts. For 7th and 8th grade, you guys, we're now going into the actual parts of the cell. Like, for example, we're finally at the favorite part of Miss Barker back. We got the mitochondria. It's the powerhouse of the cell. Yeah, it's the powerhouse of the cell. This is where all the work goes into cell formation and stuff like that. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like, this is literally, it's 8th grade. This is the first thing you talk about in high school. If you take bio next year. Also know about the cytoskeleton, which is basically this, like, the layer that protects. It's part of the membrane, but it's basically the formation of how the cell, like, flows, like, the cytoplasm around, so that things can move in and out easily. Know the nucleus is home to DNA. That's something different. Mitochondria, it helps you. Basically, it's our version of photosynthesis. Is where our version of photosynthesis occurs. So take all the ingredients merge them together and create some energy. That's in the mitochondria. Ribosomes. Ribosomes are the main ingredients for, you could say, DNA. It's basically the main ingredient that works with DNA. DNA gets stripped the part that we need for a certain type of cell. Ribosomes go in, create something called RNA, which is a strand. Gets a guideline of what code it needs to create a protein for, to either support itself or support someone else. And then usually it's 3 letter codes, and I mean you have 4 letters. There's almost, I forgot, there is actually a limit of how many combinations are, but once you have those combinations, you combine them together and it forms even more complex. They're basically amino acids. They create many amino acids, which are the basis of proteins. And eventually, if you have a long strand of these, it creates a complex protein, which is used for either function of its cell itself or something else. But just know that's what the ribosome is. The endoplasmic reticulum. Sorry. Basically, it's the membrane that protects the nucleus. It's that like divinely that only lets ribosomes enter and exit, RNA exit. The ganglion complex. Basically, this is where it basically packs up all the proteins ready for distribution, whether it's inside or somewhere else. It basically takes all that RNA data of amino acids that creates basically the info of what to do. Cell wall we've already covered. That's for a plant cell. Also, one thing in chloroplasts, which we kind of covered in 5th grade. Chloroplasts are basically the part of the cell in a plant cell that collects sunlight and absorbs and starts photosynthesis. One more thing, technically the animal cell has one, but it's not as big as the plant cell, and that's the reason why plants don't need water every day or don't need sunlight every day. They can store food, and that's because they have a large central vacuum. This vacuum takes place almost either half or more of the plant cell. It's the place where not only water and nutrients are stored, but basically that's where all the food, energy is stored, all food is stored, so that it doesn't constantly have to eat. We don't have that. Technically, we do have it, but it's not that big. It's usually really small, and that's why we need constantly to eat compared to plants, or animals need to constantly eat rather than plants who need to, like, I'll take some sunlight and water and done. Don't need anything else for another couple days. That's why they can survive on their own without constant feeding. You shouldn't constantly water them. Liposomes, basically, these are the enzymes that break down proteins or damage like cell parts. That's what they do. They're pretty much your lizard parts that help rebuild the cell itself. But yeah, anyway, that's everything I got for today. If you guys, I won't have a stream on Tuesday, but I will have one on Wednesday. Then I'll know for sure I'll have one next Friday. And then the last week of school, I will have a teaching stream on Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday, I'm gonna do a fun stream. So you guys can join me if you want. I might play games. I'm not sure live. Not sure if the parts will work, but hey, I'll see what I can do. But yeah, you can participate and join. I don't know for sure if I'll do it, but we'll see if I can get it running. If not, we could just, I don't know, watch a movie on Zoom or something and do some commentary. But with that being said, I hope you guys are enjoying it. 8th grade, I'll see you in like 40 minutes, just because, again, Zoom is not working well. But yeah, I'll put the info on Zoom. But until then, catch you guys later. Take care.